Basically, we are looking at minute writing. And as I said, it gives you a record of whatever has happened in the group. And it helps you to also get the facts of what has been written. So let me go back to start well. So in starting, we looked at this. We looked at meeting agenda, that it's providing a meeting agenda format with specific agenda that allows each attendee to start with that kind of preparation. You have that mental preparation. So once an agenda is brought, before you go for the meeting, you are prepared mentally. So that is what we call the pre-info. The pre-info, so that during the meeting, you will know that from here we go to that place, and from that place we go here. And again, you also said it helps you to know who is the chairperson and blah blah blah. That's to be done in the next one. So it helps in the running of the meeting very well. It makes sure that whatever you're doing in the meeting, you are aware of it. Okay, there are some facts that you should know in minute writing, right? So that's number one. The meeting must be taken in real time. What it means that the minutes are recorded as it happens. It's so important. I've seen people who record the meeting on audio, and later on they can't find the audio. And that also becomes a challenge, which is why experts have said that the meeting must be taken in real time. You must record it as it's going. Get the facts straight away. If you can also have a backup by recording it, but avoid the temptation of saying, I'm recording it, I'm going to put the recorder somewhere, and when it's about a day or two for the next meeting, I will transcribe. You may end up not getting the facts very well, and sometimes you may even feel lazy to go back. Those who are session clerks and this session, there's a word that we have to look at it again. The word is clerk, session clerks. And so we have blinded it to be session clerk. So the word is clerk. So those who are session clerks understand that it's a dangerous thing to record it, leave it, and then when it's time for another meeting, you go and you write it. The next one is that it must also be very concise, right? When you are writing the minute, go straight to the facts. Go straight to the facts. A meeting of writing, it is something that you should not go by transcribing. And Papa Ewukujampo said that, and even before he came, he ended the meeting and he logged on again with his other machine. And Samuel JB was the first to come. And during the discussion, he asked the question, what is how do you prepare a meeting? And the first person gave the pre-information, and the second person, I've seen certain minutes that people were writing names, and Catechist Henry did plead that he would bring his assignment later on. And Reverend Okudampo said he asked him to pay cents, and he said, okay, that's no. We don't know what they're talking about. It's not the work of a secretary. A secretary listens. It's okay. Of all the discussions we have said, if I ask you to report on what we have said, he said, yes. Reverend Asenso left. Reverend Okujampo came. He reminded us to bring our assignment. From there, by 6 p.m., the main subject for discussion was minute writing. You looked at what an agenda is, and then areas for consideration in writing effective minutes. 1, taken in real time, minute taken in real time. 2, comprehensive minutes. You can write this just in a paragraph or 4 or 5 lines. It means you have summarized because you need the facts to keep on file. And so I'm sure that when you go through this, you can correct your groups, You can be so resourceful to your groups and even to the session. You must teach the people. If you don't teach the secretary, you will be as a clerk and of a session. So, and usually we take the teachers. Oh, he's a teacher. He's taught for a long time. There's a difference between autograph and a difference between writing something. It's records for the church. I've attended certain meetings that even a minute alone is almost about 20 pages. A session meeting, the minute is 20 pages. And so reading of previous minutes can take us an hour and a half. And by the time you finish the session meeting, 5 hours. We've made mistakes in the past. Let's not repeat it. The number 3 is that it must be easy to understand. You must write it to make sure it is easy to understand. The 4 is that you have to stick to the facts. Stick to the facts. Your personal observation said that I'm making. And then the Catechist Henry said that. And then Catechist Gifty came and Reverend Chris said he didn't hear what she said. And he said, pardon me 3 times. And then she came again. Hey, your personal opinion shouldn't come in here. You have to note attendees, apologies, absentee, to come in the next one. Then use a meeting template. I recommend that. Use a meeting template because we are advancing. Yeah, advancing. And enable SSS. To get it, first of all, fine. This is a standard one for business meetings. And so you go in like, what is the name of the organization? So if it is not organization is an organization. If you write an organization, you're talking about the group, the company, the business, the association, the government. And so organization, you can say PCG, where you just write your congregation. So maybe PCG Trinity Congregation, PCG Trinity Congregation. Then you write it. So whatever congregation you have, you can write it. PCG Trinity Congregation. What is it? Is it maybe Sydney? Yeah, so Sydney. You write it. So once you write Sydney, that is it. So what is the date? And so you try to write a date. What is the time? You look at it, starting time. It's so important. What is the location? If it was done through Zoom, you write via Zoom. Attendees. So, we got about 7 present. Please write their names. Write their names. So you as a secretary or the clerk have to come very early and then try to take records. If it is a physical meeting, put a paper there, let members register. And even after they have registered, cross-check. And so before the meeting starts, the chairman of the meeting would have to say, clerk, can you check attendance for us? And so you go, so let me just quickly go and check attendance. Here in the meeting, please, if you don't hear a name, let me know. We have Catechist Henry, Catechist Samuel JB, Catechist Ajmai, Catechist Eunice, Catechist Gifty, Catechist Keteku, and Catechist Dr. Samuel Richard Otin. Please, if you're here and I did not mention your name, do well to let me know. All right. Is there anybody like that? Do we have any apologies? Is there anyone who has asked permission officially? Virtual person, please, did anyone ask permission? All right, thank you. Even that one, you must make sure you ask before you come in. If anyone has asked permission, you have to ask that before you come in. Then again, you look at it, absentees. Now, if you know the standard of those who are supposed to attend, the attendees, those present. So here, in other areas, when you have the attendees, you may have present. Okay, so it comes like those present. Those present. So the present may come maybe A as present. Then you go to B as apologies. Then you come to C as absentees. In a standard meeting, you have that. You may have that. So it must always be there. It's an order of meeting. Why would you write absentees and apologies and those present? In case you are referring to an incident, and then you say that this person was there, this person moved for the motion, and you come and you see that the person was absent that day. So how can someone who is absent move an emotion? Or a discussion was taken, a vote was cast, and then we have 9 people casting the vote. That day we got 7%. So how come the outcome was 9? So in fact, the first phase of it is very important to the content and for future reference. It's so important. Don't neglect that side. And if that day you got some guests, please note it that today we have invited the youth. We have invited the youth reps to come, or we have invited a school of ministry class reps to present, make a presentation. So when you write youth reps, please write their names. Write their names. It's so important. So once you have this, and then you put this out, anybody reading it knows that, come on, this person is brilliant. This person is orderly. All right? Okay, that is fine. Any question here before we continue? But we are all learning, right? So any question here before we continue, please? All right. So let me continue. All right. Again, this is the items, these are the items. So you go to agenda items, as you said in the previous one. I wanted to go through the procedure before. So you can have this way, you can have column 1, column 2. It's column 1 is even not so important, but you can have column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. Column 1, column 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in that order. So column 1, you have to write 1, and that is the opening or welcome. So once you go for any meeting, there should be the opening prayer, right? With that of checking the role and staff, I mean, this area is not part of the main item on program, right? But you have to go through this. In some cases, well, today I'm just giving you the format. We would come again to look at what goes into what, who moves an emotion, who seconds an emotion, who has blah, 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 and all that. But let me just go strictly by the format, and discussions may flow. So there should be, in an organization such as Presbyterian Church of Ghana, there should be an opening prayer, a welcoming message from whoever has been appointed to do that. Usually when you go for session meeting, I'm sure in most cases, the leader does the opening. But again, the leader can say, okay, today you do the devotion, 5 minutes, do the devotion, and let us go. Usually it's also good in a small group, as we are doing group dynamics, to also appoint people to be doing the opening devotion. Maybe today, Catechist Eunice is doing that. Tomorrow, Catechist Gifty, and the next day, Catechist Henry. Just 5 minutes, something, just to let them build that confidence there. And once that is done, the chairman or the leader comes in to say, based on this, I now officially opens today's meeting. Now, when it happens like that, in a meeting, the chairman may call the clerk or the secretary to read the agenda. Others have argued, in fact, I'm still working around, others have argued that even before the opening prayer, you should go through, and I may also seek your views here. Yes, you should accept the items. But I would say, well, maybe after the opening prayer and the welcoming, you just now accept the meeting procedure or the order or the items or the agenda before you go. So the clerk or the secretary now comes today in our meeting. We may be looking at, as I've shared already, we may be looking at reading of minutes, and we get a approval of previous minutes. We may also go to look at matters arising, and from there we may come to main business. So here there should be main business. So this is main business. So you have to go through the main business, blah, blah, then you come to AOB, any other business, any other business. From there, you come to correspondence, and usually the correspondence would be letters you have received from other groups, invitations you have had, and all that must be there. And that will say, okay, this day we got a letter from Ohio, Illinois district informing us of this and that. And that must also be written there. What was it? What was the letter about? So they were informing us of that, and that's happening. Then move for the closure. Always put this there, because I've attended several meetings that you go and you want to close, and then someone say, oh, no one moved for the closure of the meeting. Then you have to come back again. You say, oh, someone should have moved. Put it there, so that the chairperson or the leader may know that you need to move for the closure of the meeting. And then you go to closing prayer is there. Now, if you look at this area, I left these areas, the two areas, to say that, well, column 1, column 2, column 3. So here it's going to be like responsibility. So whose responsibility? Then I may come to due date. Due date. Do you get what I'm doing? Those are the statistics. You may realize that this is going by what you did, making sure you have the columns already, you're filling it and all that. Right. So you have to, so that's very simple. So a reading of previous minute, who is doing that? So maybe the secretary. So secretary, or you can say the clerk. The clerk does that. So then that this one, you don't need the due date here, so you just leave it. Now, again, you go to matters arising. So you may get several matters arising, because it may be matters arising simply means that, in fact, there's been several articles. We have had several articles that have spoken that, well, if the meeting minutes have been shared electronically, if someone is playing music at the background, you may put your microphone off, and then thank you. Yeah, so that the meeting procedure, if it's been shared, if the minutes have been shared electronically, then the clerk or the secretary may not be asked to read the whole thing again, but will say, as shared, can we now look at page 1 as you've read? So it is assumed that before a meeting, you might have received the minutes not less than 24 hours. Not less than 24 hours. And it is also assumed that if you have received the minutes not less than 24 hours, you should do the needful. And so, to save time, you read the minutes, you underline certain things, you underline, and that's why I'm saying that the duty as the chairperson of the session, if you are a catechist at a preaching post, at a, do we say preaching post or preaching point? So it is preaching point, right? Preaching point. So at a preaching point, what you need to do is that when the minutes come to you to sign, to endorse, you have to read through and check if everything is correct. Because if you come that the minute is given you and then you sign and say endorsed, and then it comes to the meeting in basic corrections, basic. When I talk about basic corrections, I'm sure you understand. Maybe previous, and this is why. I don't know whether you're writing previous and approval, and it comes, and this is why, and it comes and due date. You brought another Y here, so that means you didn't do your work well. So when you see that the minutes have been read, and then people say corrections, and then they begin to say, Papa, my name was not spelled well. My name there, Henry, they have made it Harry. Then it means that there is a problem with the information desk, and that must be addressed. Because for meeting procedures and people's names and order of writing their names should not be a problem and should not come with any mistake, except under the rare cases where you say, oh, this one was an oversight. That should be there. So when the minute comes, some basic grammatical errors should not come. But yes, it is a human institution, which is why we give room to say any amendment. So if there is any major amendment, you have to do it and make sure that so under normal circumstance, once the corrections are effected, a new minute may have to go to the members to say, now get rid of what you received and take this one. This is something that must be on record. What you received prior to the meeting, we have amended it. So this is an amended one. And once an amended minute comes, it means that the first one has been nullified, and that comes on file. That comes on file. It's so important. It's because if I'm coming for a minute that was written maybe April 1st or April 5th, as you were doing your class meeting with maybe Christian spirituality, and then you tell me, oh, we have 4 minutes. Which of them do you like? It doesn't make up. Are you telling me you have 4 minutes for that minute, for that meeting? No, there's only 1 minute. So if you have corrected, you don't need to leave those mistakes on file. Replace them and place the correct one on file. I'm sure Presbyterian Church of Ghana has been blessed that we are a synodal church. We do everything systematically. And so if you go to a session and then you request of the minutes of that session, anybody, any of you can request for the session minutes, provided you are part of it, or you can request for the minute of the congregational meeting you had, and you give them prior notice of not less than 7 days. They have to produce it. Oh yes, because it is a public document. Once that's come, it's a public document. Once you present a report and it is accepted, it's not for you again. It's an organizational document, and that document becomes public. Anyone can request for it. That is why the church can use minute writing to trace the history of the church immediately. Now, again, if you have accepted that, then you go to matters arising. Matters arising are the things that are coming out, the major points that came out of the meeting you had the previous time. And so that reflects here. That would be the, okay, fine. The other day, we did say that this person, maybe this one is supposed to be done by evening class, due date, today, Wednesday, 20. Today's Wednesday. So 22nd, right? 22nd, June 22nd, 2022, 6 p.m. And so once the due date is there, and the fact that you want to make sure there's accountability that warrants the due date. Because if the due date is there and the meeting has ended, it is the duty of the clerk, the duty of the chairperson, the duty of the group president, the duty of the group secretary to ensure while the meeting is over, in between meetings, to ensure that those who have responsibilities and giving specific due dates are carried before the next meeting. So you don't come to the next meeting and then we ask ourselves, oh, we forgot. No, that is why you need to get a format and get them rightly done. You must always. So when you come to the presbytery, you have the presbytery chairperson, the presbytery clerk. These two people make sure that whatever is discussed in between presbytery session, and I think I'll take constitution next semester. I'll try to take constitution. In fact, I want to pick you things that relate to the church. And so last year, I didn't take constitution, but this one I'll take constitution myself. There are some areas that I feel that I need to hammer them. Now, so okay, let me come to your level. Like local session, and I know most of you have served on local sessions. We have not served on it. Please try to be on local sessions. And sometimes they have to co-opt you. Now that you are a catechist trainee, I'm sure the school must recommend that you need to be co-opted to the session because you need to know how session is conducted. If you are here, perhaps you are a leader of the group, you are not part of the session. Those are not part of the session must be given letters to go and be observers on session. It's very important. I'm sure your ministers should at this time co-opt you to your local sessions. If you are not on the local sessions, please let us know, and we as a school would recommend that you are brought on the session. These are learning processes where you get to know. So at the local session, you have the session clerk, and then you have the minister in charge or the catechist in charge. Now, once you go for meeting, whatever is raised, whatever point is raised, it's not just raised like that. Whose responsibility is this point that has been raised? If there is nobody there, write clerk of session. If it is not time bound, leave it. So any point that you raise, align it with a particular office. If that thing you have raised has no office attached to it, it is the responsibility of the session clerk because it's the administrative bishop of the session. And the clerk of session reminds the minister of what needs to be done. And so if it is not done, it is not the minister in charge, it's not the catechist in charge, it is the clerk which did not. And so at the local session, one of the positions that are also very powerful is a senior presbyter. So we have the officers of the local congregation. We have one, the minister in charge, or perhaps we say the agent in charge. Then the clerk, the senior presbyter, and the treasurer. Treasurer is usually because they are dealing with finances. So when you need anything, you call the treasurer. But usually the senior presbyter, the clerk, the agent in charge. These three people are very core in the administration of the church. They are in charge of the day-to-day running of the church. And so if you're a clerk of the local session and then your work is just to come to church on Sunday, in fact, you are missing it big time because you must always check on the mans, check on the catechist, check on the less agent who speak for, or check on the agent to ask, the other day when we went for session, I just picked the minute and I realized that we need to do that. We need to do this. Has it been done? Oh, clerk, you're good. Oh, senior, oh, that's great. Senior has reminded us. And that is very important. You need to do it. Else, you go for session, that's the language we usually say. Oh, down here, KC, Nanka, YPG phone on JY phone. Yes, yeah, Bema or more to BNB. Nayama wana. Oh, mama, papa, yeah, oh, when you every day you come, Oh, you can say, oh, want to buy no, give a friend na, oh, papa, yeah, you refi, yeah, you refi, they be our own refi. So what happens like that? What it means is that no one was assigned responsibility. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I can say for now. We may now brainstorm and bring your views on what you think should be added, what has not been added, and then we get a very good conclusion of our meeting today. I spoke to you on writing a minute for a standard meeting. For a standard meeting. All right. Any
Papa, please,
question?
I have a question.
Go ahead, my brother.
It has to do with the template. So there was a column for invited guests. I'm just curious because I have seen the same template, but with the guests, let's say we have youth reps and also we have the singing band. Now, do you put all of them in the same space or do you create a separate space for each guest that is invited?
Okay, so assuming, thank you, my brother. So assuming you have this is what you're going to do once you have guests. So you have guests here. Okay, so I'm going to look at that. That's just, okay, guests. So I go here, this one. So I go here, and then I get this. All right, so once I get a guest, I get my youth rep here, and then I get my singing band, yeah, also here. And then once I have them here, so I have the singing band here. And so the youth reps, I can go and say maybe Jesse, Jesse Afro, and then maybe Rhoda Chermantin. You must always make sure you write the first name and the last name. These are what if America they do that. I mean, get a first name glasses. So you come to singing band. So maybe singing band, maybe Cynthia Boateng, and then maybe Kwejo Bediakon. Do you get it? So once, so as many as are present, you make sure you write their names there. This is to make sure that you would refer to their names down there. So even in the minute, you can say the youth reps in the minute. You can say the youth reps because you know already you have their names on top here. So this becomes the key. Even in writing, you have the key up here. And anything you can refer to. That's another good question. All right. Any other,
Thank
please?
You, Papa. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Yes, please. Any other? We practical and worries. Yes.
On the opening prayer and welcome, we were talking about where amendment. Where does the amendment fit, please?
Okay, thank you, my brother. That is reading of previous minutes, right? So once the minutes are read, before the meeting, a standard meeting, you should have the minutes ahead of time. So once the minutes are read, if there are major alterations, that's what we call approval of previous minutes. Before the meeting is approved, we have to go in for whether you accept the. I've seen people say that you have to adapt the meeting, you have to adapt the minute for discussion, and then from there we approve it for discussion. That is another story for another day. So my assignment to you is once the minutes are read, what do we do? Do we immediately accept, or we adapt for discussions before we accept? That area alone, I wanted to go and find out from a standard meeting, and then you tell me. Okay? All right? Just for study's sake, just try to go and, brainstorm and get that area, because most of us will get a chance to write a minute. And when you write a minute, you must make sure the right thing is done. Okay, thank you. So over here, before the meeting is approved, the minutes for the previous meetings are approved. What you need to do is that I think you have to call people's attention. Do they have something to change? And somebody can tell you, no, we never discussed this. We never discussed this. So what did we discuss? Oh, sorry. Because you recorded the audio and put it down. When you were preparing the minutes, you went for a different recorder. A different recorder can't find. Sometimes you can write a different thing that they have never discussed, and somebody can alter the content. And after that alteration, it must be accepted properly as a legal document or a working document for your group. When that happens, that is why I call amendment has been done in the minutes. And brother, are you okay there?
Yes.
God bless you. That is why at every meeting you have to come. And even if you don't come, try to request the minutes ahead of time and read the minutes and talk to people who came for the meeting. Oh, you're part of the meeting. And so try to make sure, oh, what happened? Until when the minute comes, you know, okay, we discussed that and we don't discuss that. So don't always trust whoever is the session clerk to write everything for you. Sometimes you have to also make sure that what you discuss. So you, even not being the catechist or the clerk or you must also get your notepad, right? Get your diary or get your journal and make sure that at every meeting you attend, you write some basic things so that you don't always have to wait for the session clerk to bring everything before you remember. Try to take some basic things, especially you being the minister. Take some major things. You're right. You are chairing the meeting, all right. But something that you speak about that, just note it just within a second. Okay. Maybe junior youth. Okay. Women's fellowship. That simple. Okay. Just like you are in the class. Bamis, I know some of you are taking some few notes. That's how it should happen. Whatever you're doing here is going to affect you or it's going to have influence on your ministry. Thank you. God bless you. Any other, please?
Papa, can we go back to attendees where you had subsection ABC?
Subsection ABC. Is it the app? Yeah. This one?
On attendees.
Attendees. Okay.
Yeah. Can you go over that, please?
Right. So attendees, like today, we are 8 here. So assuming I am the chairperson of the meeting, I'm present. The other 7, I've checked the row already. So they are present. So those who are present, I may have to write. So 1, 2, 3, up to 7. Write them there. Apologies. So that it could be that totally you are around 14. So apologies are people who asked permission. People who formally, there's going to be a meeting. If you cannot attend a meeting, write to the secretary. And secretary, I am unable to attend a meeting because of that. So that comes, and then that's going to be apologies. 1. So maybe Catechist Henry. So Catechist Henry has formally asked permission. And so his name comes in as apologies. And then absentees. Those you don't hear of them, they won't tell you anything. They don't mind. And then they are absentees. One telling car, trust you're absent. From this show, will be who I have written my name absent. Meanwhile, it's a meeting procedure. And if It's a meeting procedure. You know what? Some people don't come when they see their name and absentees, they'll be offended. I don't buy anybody. You are writing your belly to Amba. You are supposed to come, you didn't come. When you write your name 1, 2, 3, don't come. If they beat you, don't call me. Anyway. All right. Thank you. I hope you're okay with that.
Yes, thank you.
All right, good. Any other? Catechist, Gifty, Catechist Eunice.
I want to ask something.
Go ahead, my brother.
Concerning the session meetings.
That's right.
Is catechist always catechist always supposed to be in the session meetings?
An agent of the church.
Because when you are mentioning, you were saying that the first person is the agent, who is the pastor. The second person is the what do you call it?
Senior presbyter.
Okay. Senior presbyter, and then the clerk. That's why I was asking if catechist is also supposed to be part of it.
Okay, thank you. So now, when I take you through the Constitution, you would understand. In fact, I'll take that course by force. Constitution. Now, you see, the church is structured in such a way that the session is made up of, one, the agents. So in a church like Manhattan, where you have about 2, 3 catechists with a minister, at every session meeting, the 4 of them should be there. Okay. If you're not there, you either go under apologies or as usual absentee. You see, right? So if you are there, the senior most, if you have about 4 agents there, for example, I began my ministry as those days we were calling it second minister. And so I served under Reverend, the then immediate past evangelism director, Reverend Godfred Asante Banfo. He was a senior minister and I was the assistant. So I was a second minister. And we had third minister who was a chaplain of Ghana's. At that time, we didn't have a catechist. But before I left, we had recommended some people for training. And so now they even have about 2 catechists there. So when you go to Ascension congregation, you go and the high table, you see 5 people seated there with the minister in the middle. There's the senior minister in the middle. And then I usually sat on his left and then the other on his right. And then the catechist will sit down, followed by the clerk and then the senior presbyter in that order. The high table, they are there. So those are the high table there. They are the core. They are the agents, the clerk, the senior, the treasurer. They become the core. And I think the treasurer sat on my left at all times, I guess. Yeah, that's fine. Good. So that is it. Thank you. So those of you here who, okay, that's fine. I think that will be a private one. If you are not on your session, you may send me a message because you have to. Because as a trainee, to become an agent of a church, you should begin to be on the session to even if you don't have voting right, you're supposed to be on the session to learn something from there. It's so important. It's so important. Okay.
So, Papa,
yes, please, Mama.
So the agenda items and the topic discussed all comes on the template, right?
You use a word, I'm not sure.
The agenda items and the topic discussed. The topics discussed.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Template, yeah.
No, it's because of the word you use. That one. I am assuming ways. So the agenda, right?
Yes,
this agenda. So let's say the agenda. That's okay. Okay. So now take your question again, please.
So what I was asking is, the agenda discussed, do they all come on
That's
the
right.
templates?
Oh. So okay. So let's see. This is the organization. So this is the main template. So the agenda is here. That is we call it main business.
Main business. Okay.
So that's the main business also is here. So you can have main business 1, anything, because they cannot be static. So 2, anything you want to discuss. 3, anything. 4, anything. Sometimes it's very funny that you go to a place and you ask them, what is the main business? So you could hear home come. You could hear home come. And then you go for the meeting and you can sit there for 2 hours. You may not even know what exactly you are talking about at the meeting. So these are the areas we all have to look at it very well. Get a clear definition. That is why I did say that, yes, in a standard meeting, you may ask the people to adapt the order of the meeting. To say, okay, today these are the areas we want to go. So after the opening, before you start with the previous meeting, make sure they adapt the order. They accept it. So that the main business, if there's something you feel that we haven't added and that has to be added, it should be added directly before we continue. And then others have also argued that if we go through the procedure, the meeting procedure, and accept the meeting procedure, then why do we have to bring AOB? That's another story. We'll leave that one for another time. That why must we go in for AOB? Why? If we have accepted the procedure for the meeting, must we go again to ask people to bring any other business? And sometimes any other business can drag the meeting for another 45 minutes. Okay, let's leave that for future scholars, that you also come back to tell me what other scholars have said about that. But as it stands, AOB still remains part of the meeting. Thank you, Mom. Right.
Papa?
Yes, please, Catechist JB.
I have something to say, but it's outside the group dynamics. But I just want to say, because you are being the coordinator, it might help. I guess my colleagues too will like.
I'm recording. Can I leave the recorder? Can I stop recording?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So today we looked at meeting procedure, and so